Hello. So now I'm going to record Daf Pei Hey, part 2. We start from Amar Ula, which is 7 lines down on Pei Hey Medbeis. Amar Ula says, Bo b'marov and Eretzel had a shaylim, hifkia telem echad al pnei kula mahu. What if between the garin, the seat in the center, and let's say the row on top, which you had left 3 tvachim, but as we said, the purpose of the 3 tvachim, the shir yanika, was so that it shouldn't be considered me'urbav, it shouldn't be considered mixed together. What would be if between it you cut out a tefach across, but you dug it a tefach deep? In other words, you created a cavity in the ground, a tefach deep and a tefach wide, and you planted something in the middle. Is the fact that it's depressed, the tefach in the ground, is that okay? Is that enough of a hacker? Amar of Sheshes says it's no use. But Yerbuv ubitel as Ashura. There were laws here regarding shura. You had a shura along the top, and you had a shura on the sides, you had a shura at the bottom, you had a garden in the bottom and the center, and everything was fine. But this cavity, this canal, this channel that you made doesn't work. And therefore it ruined all the laws of Shura, and you have Klayim. Ravasi is lenient. Ravasi Amar Ein Iruva Mevatel as Ashura. This cavity, this trench that you made, which is a tefach deep and a tefach wide, doesn't affect the halachas because it's evidently different, I guess because it's a different height. So Eisvei Ravina Ravashi. Ravina asked Ravashi, how could Rav Asi have been Mekel? There's a Mishnah in Klein that says, Hanaitea Shtei Shuris Shel Kishuin. If you have 2 rows of cucumbers, and then you have a cavity of a tefach, the same thing that we're talking about. You have a trench of a tefach deep, and then you planted shtei shuras shel diluin, 2 rows of gourd, and then again you had this cavity of a tefach deep, a trench of a tefach deep, and you planted shtei shuras shel pula mitzri, 2 rows of Egyptian beans. Is mutter, it's allowed. Even though there's only a tefach between them, but since this tefach between them is a cavity, so the cavity makes it nicker that these 2 are separate. On the other hand, says the Mishnah, Shuracha shel kishuan, v'shuracha shel diluan, v'shuracha shel pula mitzri aser. If you only have 1 row of cucumbers and 1 row of gourd or squash and 1 row of the Egyptian beans, it's not good enough. Why? Because if you have 2 rows, it's nicker as a chaticha b'fnei atzma. So the fact that it's 2 rows, which is a chaticha b'fnei atzma, add to that the trench in the middle, then you have another 2 rows that are chaticha b'fnei atzma. So 2 rows being a chaticha b'fnei atzma and the trench in the middle is enough to be mavdil. But if all you have is 1 row of cucumber and then a trench in the middle, and then 1 row of gourd and then a trench in the middle, and 1 row of pula mitzri, 1 row is not enough to be an entity on its own, and the trench in the middle doesn't help. So what do we see from this Mishnah in Klayim? That a trench in the middle doesn't help if all you have is 1 row. So then here in our case, where you had 5 plants and a 6 tvachim aruga, so you had 1 row along the border, and you had a seed in the middle. And if you made a trench in the middle, the trench in the middle is only next to 1 row. The trench is not mavdil between 1 row. This Mishnah says the trench is only mavdil between 2 rows. The Gemara answers Shani Hocha that Mishnah and Klayim is different. The Ika Shracha, the cucumber bushes and the gourd bushes and the Egyptian bean bushes are very flowery and they have big leaves. So therefore, on top, there's an arbuvia, and therefore it doesn't work unless you have 2 rows in a trench, 2 rows in a trench, and 2 rows in a trench. 1 row in a trench is not good enough. On the other hand, Ravasi held that if you have just regular seeds that don't have big leafy plants, so then even 1 row in a trench and then another plant further down, a little bit further down, is still okay. Omer of Kahanam Rav Yochanan writes that Lamala is Kol Ginosai, Oisa Ruga Shisha al Shisha, Ba'igel B'chamisha, Umamale as Memale Karnaisea, B'chol Ma'asha Yirtza. Fascinating Allah. Rav Yochanan has a tremendous kula. Rav Yochanan says if you have a box, an aruga that's 6 by 6 tvachim, you can make a circle inside which has a diameter of 5. And in that diameter of 5, you can plant A. Now again, you understand that if it has a diameter of 5, then between the northern, let's say, part of the circle until the end is half a tefach, and from the southern end of this circle till the bottom also there's half a tefach. Fine, and then the same on the sides. Since the diameter is 5, so on each side of the circle there's a half a tefach until the border. And then you can fill the borders with 4 other minim, and it's perfectly okay, because the minim are all perpendicular to each other. As long as you leave a square in each corner, which is a half tefach by half a tefach, so the fact that each row is perpendicular to each other is already considered a heker, that it's not mu'urbav, it's not mixed together. And the fact that the center is a circle and everything around it is in a square, that's also heker, and that's all good enough. So therefore you're able to plant not only one garin in the middle, but make a big circle in the middle of type A, and then on each side of your square you can do type B, C, D, and E. Just leave a little spot in the corners that are empty so that they don't actually touch each other. The Gemara asks, the Gemara didn't understand Rabbi Yochanan's sentence. But you said you're going to fill your whole garden with yerek. Your whole garden means you'll have aruga next to aruga next to aruga next to aruga, and each one will have this same picture. But then you're going to have 2 parallel shurais that are next to each other. In other words, the right hand shura of one square will be adjoining mamish the left hand shura of the next aruga. Gemara says, please, Amri de Rabbi Yanai b'machrav bein abinayim. He didn't mean the whole garden you can plant. He meant, of course, you'll have to leave 2 tfachim. You'll have to leave 2 tfachim between one aruga and the other. Those 2 tfachim will be enough of a heker. This will be one aruga, this will be another aruga, and 2 tfachim in the middle will create your heker. But of course, he didn't mean planting one aruga right up to the other. Ravashi has another patent, and he says, Em hayu zruin shasi zayran erev, and erev zayran shasi. He says, if your row alongside the border of the aruga is this way, so in the 2 tfachim in between, you can always plant perpendicular to it. And the fact that those tfachim are planted perpendicularly between 2 arugas, that their shuras are planted the other way, that's enough of a heker. So as long as the shura at the end of your aruga is planted in one direction, and the 2 tfachim in the middle are planted in another direction, that's enough of a heker. Ravina asked Ravashi, it says, Avoidas yerek b'yerek acher shisha tfachim. In order to plant one yerek with another yerek, you need 6 tfachim. V'rayin oisam ketavla merubas. But it has to be shaped like a square. Everything has to be a square. So it's mashma that your aruga has to be in a square, the way we learned originally in the Mishnah, a square with one spot in the middle, and all around you can plant as long as you leave the corners empty, but not a big circle in the middle. Is mashma ketavlu deshari. Only if you did it the way he said in the Mishnah, in a square. Chalav achi, but Rabbi Yochanan's tzir with a circle in the middle is not good. And for the Gemara, hasam lakuli bakul achrina lahater raishtara yaitzu mimena. What it means is as follows: if you want, Rabbi Yochanan's answer is, remember we said before that if you have a sada which is 10 by 2 amas and by 10 by 2 amas, and you have another sada 10 by 2 amas by 10 by 2 amas, and you had a Rosh Tor going from one to the other, it's okay, because it's nicker that the Rosh Tor belongs to one sada and it just happens to be touching the other, that's fine. They're not planted barbuvia. Rabbi Yochanan disagrees, and he says you should know that you don't have to have a 10 by 2 field, by 10 by 2 field in order to have the heter of Rosh Tor, even if you have a tavla merubas. A tavla merubas also is a chusha square, and therefore if you would have, let's say, a Rosh Tor going from one aruga into the other, it's not a problem, because your square aruga is nicker as an aruga b'fnei atzma. However, if you don't have a Rosh Tor sticking in, Rabbi Yochanan says, then even having this circle in the middle of your aruga is also good. In other words, Rabbi Yochanan says, if you want to ask me how to put 5 plants into a 6 by 6 and maximize your terrain, the way to do it is the way I said. Make a big circle of 5 tfachim in the middle, and then the border is all around where it's a half a tefach. You can plant a different mean on every side, and just leave a little square of a half a tefach by half a tefach in each corner empty, and that's how you can maximize your space. But that's not going to help for a Rosh Tor. For Rosh Tor, you need something better than my picture. What's better than my picture? The way that Mishnah had a picture. A rug of 6 by 6, only one seed in the middle, and 4 rows planted, leaving tefach by tefach in the corners. The kids are, what we see from this whole Gemara is that the Iker is not Yanika, the Iker is Hakerim. And different Hakerim are good. Like a hecker, according to one opinion, a hecker of a trench is good as long as leaves aren't mixing on top. The hecker of, let's say, a tefach by tefach in a corner, even though from one to the other is only going to be 1.4, that's also okay. maybe even less than that. According to Rabbi Yochanan's tzir, you only have a half a tefach square in the corner, but as long as they're perpendicular, leaving just a little bit of space, that's also good enough. Problem is, if you mamish touch, and you can't tell whether this is an arbuvia of this. But as long as you have some space, you're already okay. We learned another eitz according to Shmuel, as long as you're not chayish that you're going to be mamala the kronos, having a tefach space this way and two tefachim this way is also good enough hecker. So as long as there's a good hecker, it doesn't matter even if the plants are next to each other. By the way, the halach is if there's a gather between two backyards, one person can plant his yerek right up to the gather, the other right up to the other side of the gather, even though there's virtually no space between them, because that gather is a hecker. Okay, so I'll be Messiah here. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to upload Daf Pei Vav. So everybody should have a healthy summer. It's after Shavuos. And Kadosh Baruch Hu should bench everybody b'chol tov.